the mark of unity in a small town in the USA nestled between rolling hills and sprawling farmlands. The Johnson family had long been part of the community, a close-knit African-American family. They had lived in this town for generations. Despite the deep-rooted prejudices that lingered in the area, Marcus Johnson, the father, was a hard-working mechanic. His wife, Linda, ran a local bakery that was beloved by many. Their two children, Jamal and Maya, attended the local high school, where they were known for their academic excellence and athletic skills. However, not all of the townspeople shared the Johnsons' warm spirit. A small but vocal racist gang, led by a man named Brad, had terrorized the town for years. They painted hateful messages on fences, harassed people of color, and made it known they didn't welcome anyone who didn't fit their narrow, bigoted view of the world. One evening, after the sun dipped behind the mountains, the gang gathered outside the Johnson family home. Brad and his crew were intent on sending a message. They had seen Marcus's son, Jamal, at a local store and decided it was time for the Johnsons to know their place. Armed with spray paint, bricks, and hateful slurs, they approached the house under the cover of darkness. As they approached, Marcus stepped outside to check on his children. The gang members quickly cornered him, shouting insults and threats. But Marcus, though intimidated, stood firm. He was determined not to let fear control him anymore. Before the confrontation could escalate further, a surprising thing happened. Jamal, now 18, came out to the porch. He had just gotten home from a late practice, and unbeknownst to his parents, he had recently gotten a tattoo. He had spent months designing it, a bold symbol of strength and unity. His tattoo was a simple yet powerful depiction of a raised fist intertwined with a peace symbol, surrounded by a circle of stars that represented unity across races, cultures, and backgrounds. The moment the gang saw the tattoo, they froze. Brad's eyes went wide, and he took an uneasy step back. The design wasn't just a tattoo. It was a statement, a symbol of defiance against the hate they had spread for so long. It was a mark of rebellion against the very ideals they fought to uphold. But there was more to it than that. Jamal had carefully chosen the tattoo. After learning about the history of solidarity movements across the world, he wasn't just fighting for himself, but for every person who had been wronged by people like them. "What the hell is that?" Brad stammered, his voice filled with unease. Jamal stood tall, looking Brad directly in the eye. "It's a symbol of who I am, and who I'll always be. You can hate me for my skin, but you'll never hate me for standing up for what's right." For a moment, there was silence. The gang members who had come there with the intent of intimidation suddenly felt a wave of doubt. They had expected fear. They had expected submission. But instead, they were confronted with something they didn't understand: a young man who had found power in his identity and in the unity of people who'd suffered because of hate. Brad looked around at his gang, unsure of what to do next. The presence of the tattoo seemed to challenge everything they thought they knew about power and fear. Slowly, one by one, the gang members began to back away. They hadn't expected a resistance like this. They hadn't expected it to come from someone like Jamal, who embodied a strength they couldn't comprehend. Jamal's parents, watching from the doorway, were initially concerned. But when they saw the gang's retreat, they realized something extraordinary had happened. Jamal had not just stood up for himself, he had, unknowingly, taken away their power. The next day, the townspeople were buzzing with talk of the encounter. Many had heard about the gang's behavior, but hadn't known the full story. When they learned about Jamal's tattoo, they began to question their own biases. Some people who had quietly tolerated the gang's hate started standing up to them too. The gang, seeing the tide turning against them, became increasingly isolated. Over the following weeks, their numbers dwindled, and eventually they disappeared entirely from the town. The Johnson family didn't know it at the time, But that tattoo had sparked a change that would ripple throughout the town for years to come. Jamal's mark of unity had transformed into a symbol of resistance against hate. And as the months passed, the town slowly began to heal. People of all races started coming together for community events, and old prejudices started to fade, replaced by a renewed sense of empathy and understanding. And for the Johnsons, the tattoo was more than just ink on skin. It was a reminder that standing up for what is right can change the course of history, even in the most unlikely of places.